Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Friday. In fact, it is Good Friday, April 2nd, 2021. And the big news story, which gets bigger and bigger by the moment, if you've been watching it from the beginning, is Washington, D.C. on lockdown. And I happened to be doing my research this morning, had the news on in the background. This story started out small. A single car crashed into a barricade. About 20 minutes later, they had the update that there were gunshots fired, and the woman who was on the scene said, "Wow, that's surprising. I didn't hear any gunshots," but she said, "Then again, we were setting up our scene, and sometimes unpacking the equipment can be a little bit loud, so maybe we didn't hear it." It's like, can you imagine opening up like the camera case, the audio case? You're not going to hear the gunshots, and you're on the scene. So, again, if you've been watching the news, this is the exact type of conversation you've heard. Wow, gunshots, I didn't even notice. And then next thing you know, the gunshots were the police shooting the suspect because he had a knife. And then 30 minutes later, somehow the suspect now killed an officer. I mean, it's like the story just keeps building. These just new details is coming out of nowhere. At first, this was a random car that crashed into a barricade, but it wasn't really that big of a deal because the police and National Guard were already all over. And Fox News was saying, well, this is a good sign that the National Guard are on the scene. This is exactly why some people asked them to be here, just in case there ever was a threat. And if you've been listening to this the whole time, they've been saying things like, maybe the National Guard need to stay in Washington, D.C. This reminds of the Oklahoma City building when they had the Oklahoma City bombing building when they had to lock down D.C. because of it. This reminds of 9/11 when they had to lock down D.C. because of it. Again, they're just bringing up all these incidents from the past, which were really all the government. They're all FF operations. You can't say FF. It's hate speech on YouTube. It's literally hate speech to say FF. And if you don't know what FF is, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's something pirates used to do to make their enemies look bad. Maybe I can just say the first word. The first word is false, and then the second word has to do with like the thing that has red, white stripes on it and blue and stars. I can't even believe that I can't say this phrase, but they take down your video for hate speech if you say FF. But anyway, all these government FFs over the years, they're bringing them all up, including the Capitol insurrection of January 6th. And don't forget, you guys, I had a video up on all the headlines we would read about on January 6th. Days before it happened, I was dead on about everything. I said we'd see a lot of Confederate war symbolism. We'd see a shooting, a killing, because it was all simulated. It was all simulated at Georgetown on June 12th. So we had this video with everything dead on that happened that day, and then a month after the fact, and it was like my most viewed video on the channel that's now been completely taken down. Or actually, I guess I'm getting so confused. I just had a channel taken down. Maybe it was on the other channel that's on the verge of getting taken down. But anyway, they took down that video, and it had like the most views on that entire channel. It had gotten up to like 50K views, and they took it down. Because they don't want people to see that we were right about how they simulated and planned all this. And it's just the government. It's not, again, everything that just pay attention to everyone who's been arrested for January 6th. They've all been former military. It's psychological operations. That is what government is. Again, people need to understand this. Government. It's not a secret. Govern means control. Ment comes from mental mind. Government literally means mind control. This is why the government is constantly doing FFs, operations, to leave a psychological impact on the ill-informed and ignorant and gullible populace that can't see through the obvious, so that the government can keep giving a reason for why they need a greater police state, why they need a greater military state, why they need a greater surveillance state. All of this stuff is such transparent bullshit. It is truly sickening when you have eyes to see. And that's why they say, the one-eyed man is king in the land of the blind. Again, if you've watched this story unfold, it has just been the biggest joke. It started as, this random car crashed into a barricade. And then they just keep building on all these details. Just complete garbage. Complete garbage. Fox News just brought on, what's his name? Like Dan Bondingo or whatever his name is. And he came on with the speculation that this is suicide by a cop, that this must have been a suicidal person who just wanted to be shot by a cop, because why would they bring a knife to a gunfight? Why would they go into this area that was heavily fortified already with police and National Guard? Anyway, again, if you listen to my Wednesday night radio show, we had a resident moron call in. And he's like, I kind of think all this might just be like a coincidence. And I said, no, it's just because you're a moron. I said, one of the major things you can pay attention to is just Washington, D.C. and rituals with 47 in that city because they just happen again and again and again and again and again. Well, here we are on the 47 date numerology, April 2nd, 2021. And we got the Capitol lockdown on the 47 date numerology. And again, just to remind people about all the 47s in D.C., Trump was making it crystal clear on the campaign trail. I've done more in 47 months than Biden's done in 47 years. And of course, back in 2016, on the night of the rigged selection for Trump, just like this year was the rigged selection for Biden, and we called them both before they happened. But again, in 2016, Trump was in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel, not by accident, because in Gematria, president's 47, so was White House, so was government, so was authority, so was Republican, so was Whig. The Republicans came out of the Whig Party. Democrats, 47. Don't forget it was Abe Lincoln, very dishonest Abe, a total tyrant who goes down in history as Honest Abe. A total tyrant was Abraham Lincoln, who probably faked his death in a theater at age 56, that big number in D.C., and again, why would you fake your death? Well, because you just sold out the entire country. You just turned it into a federal military police state. You just overthrew half the country that didn't want to be told what to do by Big Brother in the capital city. I mean, that's who Abe Lincoln really was. But again, he said 7 years ago. He could have said 87 years ago, but instead he said 7 years ago because they've been doing this 47 thing the whole time. Republican, Whig, Democrat, D.C., Trump. Again, Biden had been in D.C. for 47 years when he became president-elect, just like how he took office with Obama, and Obama became president at age 47. And again, the list just goes all the way back to the beginning of D.C. The cornerstone for D.C. was laid September 18th, 1793, a date with 47 numerology. D.C. was laid out by L'Enfant, the French Freemason. France equals 47. The Scottish Rite of France, they set their compass on their symbol. If you know the Masonic compass, the capital G with the compass and the square, the compass is set at 47 degrees. And again, just always the same number in this city. We've covered so many rituals with Nancy Pelosi and a million other politicians in D.C. in 47 over the years. Just the same type of rituals. So here we are on the 47 date numerology, and the Capitol's on lockdown. And since they're making this about police and mental illness, I've been watching Fox News and CNN, just going back and forth while I decode the news stories this morning. And they keep bringing up mental illness. We're going to find out if the driver was suffering from mental illness. I must have heard him on CNN and Fox. I was going back and forth to get the coverage on both. They both keep using the same talking point. Did the driver have mental illness? We're going to find out if he had mental illness. Again, mental illness has Gematria 47, and I really do think that they should update in all dictionaries. You have mental illness if you still watch the news and believe a word of it. Because truly, you have to have something wrong with your head completely to still watch the news and believe a single word of it. The news goes to a commercial break, Pfizer's advertising, Johnson & Johnson, then they come back and the news is reporting, only conspiracy theorists are questioning the vaccines. These dangerous conspiracy theorists questioning the vaccines. We'll be right back after this next commercial break. It's like, why the fuck are you even paying for cable? All it is commercials. But then they go back, it's Pfizer again. It's some other, pharmaceutical company advertising with their drug that you need because you might not, isn't it funny just watching these drug commercials? It's like these minor symptoms you might have, get this drug, and then they read off 20 seconds of crazy side effects you might get. It's like, who the hell would go out and get that if you had that minor problem? Again, you have to have mental illness to be watching TV, believing the news, watching these commercials, and still buying these products. Total mental illness. I've recognized this since I was a teenager. You had to have mental illness to not question the rigged selection of George W. Bush. You had to have total mental illness to not see it. You had to be mentally ill to fall for the lies of 9/11. You had to be mentally ill to fall for every single lie they give you every day on these news networks. This stuff is manufactured bullshit that's so transparent, so pathetic. That really should be the definition of mental illness. If you still believe the TV, if you're still being guided by the advice of the experts on the TV who are proven wrong every single day, who have to constantly backtrack on what they say, retract the story, change the total opinion. I mean, this whole COVID thing, how many times have they had to shift, a complete 180 from what they said the day prior? Anthony Fauci, wearing a mask would just create things like bacteria, germs, people be fussing with their masks, spreading more germs. He said, no way do we wear masks. That doesn't do anything to stop viruses. A month later, Anthony Fauci says we need to wear a mask. It's like, wait a minute. And then they say, if you're not wearing a mask, you're questioning science. Yeah, okay, I'm definitely going to question science, as the news reports it. Where were all these scientists and engineers on the day of 9/11 as we saw a very obvious lie transpire that went unchecked? Where's the footage of the plane flying into the Pentagon? How come it's 20 years later and I still don't have that footage? Where's that at? Where's Flight 77 hitting the 77-foot-tall Pentagon on the 77th meridian 77 minutes after taking off? And how come nobody's addressing the coincidence that the fact that Pentagon construction began September 11th, 1941? These are just all coincidences? Again, you got to be mentally ill if you're questioning a single thing I'm saying right now, because I'm speaking nothing but facts. God, this stuff's pathetic, man. It is pathetic. I gotta tell you, I had this sorry-ass motherfucker come up to me on the street yesterday on his motorcycle. I'm pretty sure it's the same piece of shit who was revving his engine real hard like last week. But yesterday he flips up his visor and goes, "Hey, are you a scientist?" And I said, "No." He goes, "You need to get educated." I said, "Well, I'm a teacher. I have a master's degree." And then that made him backtrack. He goes, "Well, then you need to get checked in mentally or something like that." And I said, "Do you know about Event 201? He's like, "You got mental problems." It's like, okay. Because you're a fucking idiot who makes irrational arguments, I got mental problems? Again, you guys, they've just flipped the world on top of its head. You know, everything's backwards. Complete morons think they're empowered because they watch news and don't question authority. They think they're just the smartest people in the world. They think anybody who speaks against the agendas, something's wrong with them. Again, this is about 90% of the populace. That's why it's so dangerous. We live in a society of truly mentally ill people, and that's why most of them are on pharmaceuticals. Yours truly has never been on a single pharmaceutical in his life. Never once. The only thing that's gone in my mouth is a Tylenol here, an ibuprofen there, because I get headaches like everybody else, but, well, I probably get them a little bit worse than everybody else. But, again, I never had to be on any pharmaceuticals, you know? Never once. Most Americans can't say that. They're depressed. They got anxiety problems. They got low confidence. I don't have any of these problems. None at all. Just an occasional headache. That's mostly from living in Idiotville. These idiots are giving me a headache. But, yeah, suicide by cop in D.C., all bullshit. They're bringing up Brian Sick Nick. You know, it took them... Well, again, Brian Sick Nick. At first, Brian Sick Nick was hit with a fire hydrant, and then they came out that he was killed with bear spray. Hold on. And I can tell you, I don't think it's possible to die from bear spray, and I speak from experience because I have been bear sprayed recently by Antifa, another federal operation. But yeah, here was the bear spray. FBI identifies suspect in death of Capitol Hill officer Brian Sick Nick. Is this the right one with the bear spray? Hold on. Is this the right article? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, right here. The theory, as CNN has reported, is that Sick Nick became ill from bear spray. And this news was on the 57th day of the year. This news was February 26th, the 57th day of the year. And notice bear spray is 42 as well. He was reportedly 42 years old and killed by bear spray as updated on the 57th day of the year. Bear spray is also 138 like federal, like Donald Trump. This was at the Donald Trump rally. 105 connects to Masonry. Again, DC's the Masonic city. Freemason, of course, is 42. Scottish Rite is 57. So again, all this stuff is trash. And remember, this happened January 6th, and then it was the 33rd day of the year, February 2nd. We also had the federal shootout in Sunrise, Florida that day. But remember, on the 33rd day of the year, since I'm bringing this up because they're talking about Brian Sick Nick so much today. But it was the 33rd day of the year, February 2nd, that the remains of Brian Sick Nick made it to the Capitol, which made no sense because it's like, wait a minute. Okay, so he's killed in the Capitol January 6th. They said he died the next day from the bear spray complication, so January 7th. So you mean to tell me it took 26 days from the day he died until the 33rd day of the year? in the Masonic city with the House of the Temple with 33 pillars on the outside that are each 33 feet tall. It took him until the 33rd day of the year to get his remains to the Capitol. How does this make any sense? And again, Sick Nick's also got the 137, like government, like Washington, D.C., 137's the 33rd prime. Federal police, masonry, secrecy, order, all 33. And that same day, there was the shootout with federal police in Sunrise, Florida, Sunrise 33 at the Water Terrace Apartments, where Water Terrace is 137, the 33rd prime. And they said 2 federal officers were killed, 2 feds, on 2/2, the 33rd day of the year. And it's not all number games? I got critics saying it's not all number games? You mean to tell me that my book is incorrect? I challenge any person out there to disprove one thing in this book. And there's a lot of things that you have a shot to disprove. Try to disprove one. Try to just disprove one. I guarantee you can't do it. Guaranteed. I made the book free for all the dummies to even try. So read up, try to disprove one thing. Again, we've been exposing what the feds are up to, what the city police are up to, conspiring against the people, selling out the people, simulating these operations before they happen, reporting drills as real tragedies. This is what's going on all over the nation. And, yeah, it's just... Anyway, coming back to this, again, on the 47-day numerology, the capital city's locked down, where everything in D.C. is 47. Talk about this seemingly every day. And, let's see. Did I have anything else in this decode? The 202 update, I was watching it live. The 202 update was that the suspect was shot. And again, then they're justifying that maybe the National Guard need to stay there. And think about it, you guys. They're just planning for the future. They know things are just going to... The tyranny is just going to get worse and worse. That's why they're actively working at disarming the populace. They want it so that nobody can stand up to their tyranny. You're disarmed. There's too much military. There's too much police. There's too much surveillance. You don't stand a shot. They know the people are completely disorganized. That's why our man's always saying we got to use this National Assembly guide to get organized in our communities. And again, I'm all for it. It's just, we know what it is, man. People are too busy in America. They're too busy. They're working, they're at school, and then in their downtime, they don't have time for nothing else besides watching TV or going out and shopping and buying some new shit that they don't need. This is America. This is the programmed populace. They see themselves as worker bees. I mean, look at how many losers drive by me as I get out the word and do something that, real Americans should be doing. They drive by and they flip me off and they say things like, get a job. It's just like, okay, this is a job. Getting out the truth is a job. This is what more people should make their job. But again, these ballless cowards, you see how I handle them on the corner? I don't take their lip service. You see anyone pull over and come back and say anything? No, they're pussies. They just drive away like the fucking losers they are, talking shit out their window. Sorry-ass fucking pussies. And again, that's what we got a society of. A bunch of sorry-ass fucking pussies. Shout out to Bryson. Bryson did a good video and said we should be nicer to these people and not call them names. And he's probably right, but at the same time, I just got to keep it real. It is a society of sorry-ass fucking losers. And I'm going to continue to call spades spades. Again, I don't think you're ever going to be able to be nice enough to these people to persuade them. You know what I think needs to be done to them. But, so anyway, that's that story for today. That one. Oh, hold on. There is one more thing. Since they keep bringing up the Capitol insurrection today, that was January 6th, right? Today is April 2nd. Today's 86 days later. And then I noticed that the police person that they have speaking today has a totally believable name. Where did it go? Where's their totally believable name? Yogananda Pittman. Yogananda Pittman. That's probably how you pronounce it. Yogananda Pittman told the story today of what happened. The clearly bullshit story. And I'm pretty sure that's a bullshit-ass name. Yogananda. Just like I said yesterday, you see these police spokespeople in the news? It reminds me of journalists, how most journalists change their name or modify their name so that people don't know their real name, so that they have their on-TV personality, and then they have their real-life personality. But Yogananda? I mean, seriously, who the fuck has that name? How many Yoganandas do you know in your life? So anyway, what are the odds? 86 days later, they keep bringing up the Capitol insurrection, how that put the National Guard there in place. And just remember, when they had the Black Lives Matter rally in D.C., the National Guard, 1 million police were already there, but when they had the Capitol insurrection, there was like no police present, just like no defense of the Capitol, because the whole thing was set up. It was all staged and contrived to build their narrative for why they want to build their police state. And then today, this looks like a reason why we need the National Guard to stay here. Really? A passenger sedan crashes into a barricade, and then they make up a whole bunch of bullshit after, and that's the reason we need to fortify the Capitol? Guess what? That's what they do in, essentially fascist nations where the people know that they're sold out by their government. They got to heavily fortify and defend to protect their truly terrorist operations. Don't ever forget what the definition of terrorism is. The original definition of terrorism is government by intimidation. We've always lived in a terrorist nation. It's always been government by intimidation. Cold War, that's terrorism. That was all lies and bullshit. All these wars they've started have all been based in lies and bullshit. All these perceived threats for why we need to go to war, why we need more police, more military, more surveillance. It's all been bullshit. It's all terrorism. Terrorize you into giving up your rights and liberties and living in a police surveillance state. Okay, so how about this story on 4/2? You just knew you were going to get a big vaccine story. And again, go back in. Are my videos still up from a year ago? I mean, they've taken down so many, but if you go back and watch all my original videos, when people were calling in, they're saying, Zach, do you think they're going to make the vaccine mandatory? I said, probably not. I said, probably what they'll do is they'll probably just make everybody go out and get it by making it impossible to travel, impossible to go to a concert, impossible to go to a sports game. Maybe you can't even go to the store or the mall if you don't have your vaccine. I said, that's probably how they'll do it, and because people want to participate in society, they'll probably go out and get the vaccine. So today the CDC comes out and says, if you go out and get your vaccine, traveling's going to be a lot easier for you. No mandatory 2-week quarantines. Because again, who wants to do that? You want to travel to a destination and then have to check into a hotel for 2 weeks? I mean, how expensive is that? And then, I mean, who even has that kind of time? Most people have a week of vacation time if they're lucky. So again, they'll just make it totally, essentially impossible to live as you did pre-pandemic. And again, just to remind everybody, the world's population grew significantly in the time of the pandemic. There were no more deaths reported in the world in the time of the pandemic than there were any year before that. The evidence is everywhere of a pandemic if you turn on the TV, but then, again, if you turn off the TV, there's no evidence that anything's different besides all the dumbasses now wearing face diapers over their face and living in fear. And I don't know if I captured it in yesterday's live streams. Again, I am live streaming on Twitch when I'm on the corner now, but there were 2 people who looked at Meg and I on the corner getting out the word, and they pulled up and they didn't have masks on, and they looked at us, and they both put on masks in their car as if they could possibly catch the virus from us outside on the corner while their windows were rolled up. Think about how fucking pathetic these people are. That is mental illness. I'm sorry, that is the definition of mental illness. Something is severely wrong with your brain if you think that 2 people on the corner, probably 20 feet from your car, while your windows are rolled up, are going to give you the virus, so you're masking up in your car while you're looking at us. Oh my God. What a society of fucking losers. I mean, land of the free, home of the brave? No, land of the fucking loser, land of the enslaved, land of the cowardly little bitch. And that's what it's been for all of my adult life. I guarantee you, I've seen it since day one. All the 9/11 shit, everyone's scared after that. Oh man, that guy over there looks like his skin's kind of dark. Maybe he's a terrorist. Shut up, pussy. Stop watching TV. Stop believing your government. It's been my attitude the whole time. Anyway, the reason we knew there'd be vaccine news today is because it's 4/2. And every single 4/2 date, there's been a huge vaccine ritual. Again, in my book, which was finished at the end of July, I wrote all about vaccine and 42 rituals over the years. There's been a million more that I could add to it since I finished the book, especially in the time that the vaccine's been out. But vaccine 42, today's 4/2. You can also write today 2/4. The CDC is talking about travel and vaccines. It's just news by the numbers every day. Today's a perfect day to talk about travel and it's a perfect day to talk about vaccines. And for that mental midget who called into my show Wednesday, he's like, sometimes you're saying you can write the date this way, sometimes you're saying you can write it that way. It's like, yeah, fucking retard, because you can write the date that way or that way, you fucking idiot. That's the way it is, not the way I determined it. Half the world writes the date 2-4, the other half writes the date 4-2. You're a fucking retard. That's why you're calling in here with all these bullshit-ass arguments. Go stick your head back up your ass and don't waste my radio show time anymore. It's not like I already don't know that 90% of the population's fucking retarded. But this is exactly why you have to look at it both ways. 2/4, 4/2. What do they write about on this day? Vaccine and travel, moron. God, that idiot lives in D.C. He called in from the D.C. area. And what did I say to you, fucking moron? I said D.C. and 47. What, you think today's a coincidence too? Moron. Sick of living in a society of morons. God. CDC is going to tell you what to do on Easter, too. If you've gotten the vaccine, you can gather with your loved ones on Easter. How about go fuck yourself? I'll gather with whoever I want to. I've been fine all year, ignoring your bullshit guidance. Like I want to listen to that fat fuck Robert Redfield, Georgetown Jesuit educated. By the way, Georgetown and Jesuit 42. Don't forget who's behind all this. Okay. Here's some more bullshit. Mets Nationals canceled. Okay, D.C., federal agenda, New York, these two hotbeds of propaganda. But right away, I just saw this. Here's going to be the coming conversation. Do athletes need to get vaccinated? Do we need to vaccinate the athletes so we can end the disruption in the games? And just like at the same time, what was it, 1 or 2 days ago, they were saying, a lot of sports teams are talking about if you want to come to their games, you're going to need to have the vaccine and the vaccine passport. By the way, today that little, what do they call it, Excelsior or whatever they're calling it, New York, that went live today. But the reason they did this with the Mets and the Nationals is because these are the two 57 teams. Remember, vaccines got the 57 connection and the 42 connection, so this is the headline today on 4-2. We call Mets the Super 57 team. We actually we kill the world of rig sports with the Mets and 57 rituals. They almost always come through. But it's perfect for the vaccine conversation. And don't forget how Nationals is 57. That's part of the reason we called the Nationals to beat the Astros in Game 7 of the World Series 2 years ago. The Astros picked up their 57th postseason loss all time in that series. And World Series also equals 57. But this is why they have these two teams today, so that they can have this conversation. Do the athletes need to get vaccinated? They did this with LeBron. By the way, LeBron was the first athlete they really focused on. He's a good old 42. LeBron James, 42, like vaccine. And LeBron said, well, I'm going to keep my vaccine stuff private. Just watch. They'll be saying the athletes need to get vaccinated so the games can go on without interruption. And that's why they're doing it with these teams. New York, D.C., they got the right numbers. It's the right date. It's all by the numbers. And here was a good headline yesterday on April Fool's Day. You guys missed this one? Don't freak out if you get these side effects from a COVID vaccine. They can actually be a good sign. Yeah, it's always a good sign when you have negative health side effects from getting vaccinated. And again, do you ever see the news like putting out the list of ingredients in the vaccines? I suggest you look into those, because I'm sure if I shared them on the screen, even right from Johnson & Johnson's website or Moderna's or Pfizer's, they'd probably take it down for medical misinformation. Because again, all they're really protecting is from people seeing the truth. Go see what ingredients are in the vaccines and see if you want that in your body, But this was April Fool's Day. Don't freak out if you get these side effects from a COVID-19 vaccine. Yeah, a good April Fool's Day headline, because you got to be a fool. You got to be a fool to go get out a rushed-out vaccine from companies that literally have criminal rap sheets like Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, which is a fact. Also yesterday on April Fool's, the Charlottesville Confederate statues are coming down. And again, the date can be written 4/1/14. Statue has that 14 connection. Of course, joke has the 14 and 41 connection, which is no doubt why April Fool's Day exists, seeing as how everything about our society that's been contrived around us has been done so by the numbers. But again, I mean, this stuff is a joke. Taking down history, what problems does that solve? If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. It's good to have up statues of the past, even if they are wrong, because people can look back and say, okay, that's the way that was in the past. Let's not do it that way again. You remove all the landmarks, people totally forget about the past. They don't even remember what happened. Yesterday I was talking to the teenagers. This group of teenagers keeps walking by in the corner, and every time there are a pack of them, they're all looking down at their phones, and they tell me they're playing video games. So yesterday I asked them, I say, what video game are you guys playing anyway? Because, they walk across the crosswalk and everything. They're head down in the phone the whole time. They don't even look for traffic. And I'm just like, well, they're following the beeping that says walk. But, God, if a car was blowing through the light, they'd all get ran over like a bunch of bowling pins. But I said, what video game are you guys playing? They said Pokemon Go. I didn't know that was still the thing, but I remember when that came out. But, yeah, they're out. Hey, if you're going to play a video game, that's probably not a bad one because it gets you outside and walking around. At least you're moving your feet. But again, meanwhile, overhead, it's like total chemical spray everywhere. These kids all look like they're in their early teens, so they just grown up in this world. It's just normal, but just not even looking at anything around them, just head in the phone. And anyway, I guess the point I'm making is just what a joke this country's become, man. It's such a joke. Everything about it is a joke. It is a joke. And also in the news yesterday on April 1st. Remember, April 1st has a really strong connection to the number 13 as well, because 4-1 is like 41, the 13th prime, and April 1st is also the 91st day of the year, which is the 13th triangular number. Again, prime numbers are those that cannot be divided except for by one in themselves, so 41 is the 13th prime. Triangular numbers means if you add 1 through 13 together, it equals 91. And out of Chicago, 13-year-old boy killed by police. This was the mayor, Lori Lightfoot. And again, don't forget, Obama won the 56th presidential election. Lori Lightfoot became the 56th mayor of Chicago. And both of their birthdays are 8-4. And Society of Jesus is 56 and Jesuits 84, which are the same thing. And also, both of their names equal the same thing in gematria, too. And they both sound like bullshit-ass names. Lori Lightfoot, Barack Hussein Obama. Come on. Here, I'll just show you. Lori Lightfoot, 76. Barack Obama, 76. Just like Negro 76, like Slave 76, like Blues 76, like Rasta 76, like the Million Man March on the day leaving 76 days left in the year. And his new book, A Promised Land, has the 59 and 76, just like Negro, Slave, Blues. And don't forget, Obama's Secret Service name was Renegade, which is 59. And he's 59 years old right now. During the time of the 59th U.S. presidential election, where his wingman Biden becomes president. All by the numbers, all in a big joke. But the other thing about this headline out of Chicago, the city known for shootings, is it came on a date with 46 numerology, April 1st, April Fool's Day. And Chicago, that's the big number in Chicago, 46. The team that won its lone Super Bowl with the revolutionary 4-6 defense and beat the Patriots 46-10. And if you watch the Bears, there's usually that fan that's in the end zone who wears the Bear costume and always wears the 46 jersey, and he's normally flexing, I'm sure he knows his gematria, whoever that plant is in the stands in his costume every week. But again, you learn the code. You see it through all of it, from the football games to the news. Oh, yeah, and then this too. So I caught this story this morning, and I thought the news broke today. They actually did put out this story last night, but they're making sure everybody sees it today on Fox News. A black man getting beat down on 4-2 in a Walmart for not wearing a mask and apparently saying he was shoplifting. Apparently he was walking through the Walmart telling people that he was stealing stuff and telling people, get out of my way. Who's going to be, who's that bold to steal stuff and announce that they're stealing stuff and talk shit to people as they're going out of the store? Come on. But Fox News is really making sure everybody sees the story on 4-2 because they moved it to the top of their page, and then they say this happened in Washington State, which is the 42nd state in order of statehood. And again, today's 4-2. Today's the day I caught wind of it because it was right at the top of their page this morning. But I said, come on, man. The 42nd state, 4-2, a black guy getting beat up. Today's the anniversary of the indictment of the Panther 21, which we talked about yesterday with Shaba. Again, just all throughout history, shaming black people by the same damn number. So they said this guy was intoxicated, stealing stuff, challenging people, not wearing a mask, and then he got beat down. And not to mention the guy who's fighting him's in a white shirt. He's in a black shirt, white, black, symbolism, Masonic, good, evil. I mean, this whole thing just looks like contrived bullshit. But again, it's just more contrived racial bullshit with the 4-2. And to understand, Walmart too, where this happened, Walmart is the government. Walmart stores are subsidized with taxpayer dollars. That's how they're able to have such low prices. They really do have lower prices than all the other stores. That's because they're subsidized by the government. They have an unfair advantage. Our tax dollars cause their prices to go down. So when you shop there, you're shopping essentially at Fascist Mart. You're shopping at a private corporation that's backed by the U.S. government. So is Cabela's, by the way. Cabela's does the same thing. That's why Cabela's has museums, or they're not. They don't. I shouldn't. Well, it qualifies as a museum. If you've ever been in a Cabela's, they have like the scenery, right? They have the exhibit. But what they do is an exploitation because they qualify as a museum, Cabela's, so they get government money to build their stores. That's why they have the for show room, or whatever you would call it. The display room. Yeah, look into Cabela's. They qualify as a museum, so they get taxpayer dollars to build their stores too. And again, all these are essentially Fascist Marts. So, anyway, I got to go do a little bit of yard work. I am going to go do that yard work right now, and then I'm going to head down to the corner to put in my hours of community service. And again, I am streaming on Twitch, not TV. And it's Gematria_effect_news. You can't do spaces there, so it's just like Gematria Effect News, but you do the underscore where the spaces are. You'll find my channel. And it's not getting a lot of viewership. And maybe you guys are getting bored of me being on the corner. That's fine. I mean, I don't expect you guys to tune into every broadcast because I'm doing the same thing truly like a machine. You can only say so much if you're getting out the talking point to people at the stoplight. But in the near future, maybe I'll scout out some more spots and try to make it a little bit more interesting for the online audience. But again, my purpose in doing this is seeing what can be sparked in this community. How many people can we get to organize and gather with us and come out and stand against the tyranny? So I'm going to continue to do it for the foreseeable future. And again, try to put in at least 2 hours a day. And been doing that pretty much every day since March 10th. And we'll continue to do it into the future. Sweet lady thinks I'm going to get skin cancer. Look at this, you guys. I got a tan line on my head. Can you see that from wearing the hat? But it's like white up here and it's tanner here. So I might have to figure out what to do about that. I might just have to stop wearing a hat. But never had a tan line like that on my face. But as long as I got the hat on, it's not that big a deal. So anyway, we'll leave it there, you guys. The news is bullshit. If you watch it, you really are mentally ill. They need to update the definition sooner than later. So, have a great rest of your day, Truth Seeker. I'll see you on the corner. Oh, wait, hold on. Also, Truth Over Fear YouTube channel. Yesterday, Leo, who runs the Truth Over Fear channel, and Big Al. Hold on. Let me find the right channel. Truth Over Fear YouTube. Hold on. But Big Al and Leo yesterday got out. They got together in Tucson and were pounding pavement. And it looks like they kept up his live stream's been kept up. But I think they're gonna do it again today. If not today, they said they'd do it next Monday. But again, subscribe to Leo's channel, Truth Over Fear. He's down in Tucson. If anybody's in Tucson and you want to link up with him, I'm sure the more the merrier. But him and Big Al are out there. Big Al went out and got the exact same megaphone and rechargeable battery setup I got. And they were getting after it on the corner, the two of them. And somebody called the police on him yesterday. They had the police come out and talk to him. But the police officer, he didn't have a problem with it. So, and again, he shouldn't have had a problem with it because there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. They're using their First Amendment right. So if you want to support them too, they very well might be streaming on YouTube later today. But if not, they'll definitely do it more. So Okay, that's all. I am going to go do yard work right now. And hold on, let me give Hickok a wrench real quick. I just saw Hickok was without his wrench. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. And sure, we'll be back tomorrow. And for all of you guys who want me to decode the Masters again, I will put some work in on that. And for those of you guys who are doing your own decodes on the Masters, something I would pay attention to. Again, the last 2 years, we've nailed the Masters dead on. Last 2 years, we got the Masters dead on. That's how good gematria is. Can you call golf tournaments? Because we've done it many times, but we're 2 for 2 in the last 2 Masters. And in fact, those are the only 2 times I ever tried to call the Masters. So we'll see if we can stay perfect this year. But one of my thoughts when I do go into the decode is that this year is going to be the 85th Masters, and it's starting right after the basketball tournament ends. And remember, basketball equals 85. March Madness began in 85. You know, the NBA playoffs are about to get underway, so I'm wondering if there might be some kind of parallel between what's going on in basketball and maybe golf this time, because there's always a theme to it. There's always a theme to what they're doing. And it might not be that way, but just because basketball is 85 and it's the 85th Masters, the Jesuit motto is Sus Hominum Salvator is also 85. But I'm going to explore that angle. Like, if I see that any of these golfers went to, a school that did well this year, like a Final Four type school, a school that's in the championship game, this type of thing, that's possible. So I saw just the other day Brooks Koepka got engaged to some woman. That might have been yesterday. That's something to look into. Sometimes we see these athletes getting engaged, marriage, a child announcement, and the next thing they do really well in the tournament or the game. So anyway, I haven't decoded it at all, but just it being the 85th Masters. Last year was the 84th Masters, and the golfer that had the huge Jesuit ritual going on, he won it, of course. And so anyway, that's my clue for now if you're doing your own decode, but I will get on that. So in due time. But really right now my big priority is just getting some action going, getting some people inspired to stand up to tyranny, because that's way more important than getting the sports games right. I mean, getting the sports games right at this point just really does feel super trivial in light of everything against us. But so many of you in the community, that's still all you care about is like, but come on, man, we got to gamble some more and win some more money. Why? I mean, they're going to devalue the whole currency. We're going to lose all of our rights. It's just like, we got to get our priorities straight. So anyway, we'll leave it there, you guys. And until next time.